In addition to the plethora of issues plaguing New Orleans Public School District is widely recognized as the lowest performing district in Louisiana. Following Hurricane Katrina, the state of Louisiana took over most of the schools within the system. At the same time, the apparent low quality of public schools in New Orleans has encouraged families to educate their children in private schools. This has contributed to major underfunding of the public school system.
Before the storm system, everybody had knowledge about New Orleans school system. New Orleans school system was like lower than Mississippi. The school system had never been up to par. I mean, it was barely making it before the storm because they didn't have qualified teachers at the time, you know. I mean, in order for you to get good qualified teachers, you have to be willing to pay them good salaries, okay? And like different type of programs. The money wasn't being dedicated down here that we're supposed to get a good school system here. So once Katrina came, over 6,000 of them don't have jobs now because during Katrina, they decided to bust the union out. So these women lost their jobs, their houses, their city, and everything at the same time. I said, this is horrible. I said, I don't care what it is. I just want my son to have a teacher. I went to 5 different schools. I'm sorry, we have space, but we don't have teachers. I'm not saying, you know, everybody that goes to school is going to become rich, but at least you give them common value and a common focus in life. If you take a good education away from these poor kids, they have nothing. They have nothing to look forward to. If nobody don't speak up for these poor kids down here, it's not going to happen. It's like education is seen to be last on their list. If you take these kids and you educate them, and you give them some specific training, and you give them some types of goals that they can look for in life, you wouldn't have these problems. Basically, all your values and your morals start at home. But a lot of kids don't have nothing but school. You know, they may not have the guidance that they need at home. So they need that social worker at school. They need that counselor. They need to know that just because they're children, they're not locked into a poverty, a box that they can't get out. And a lot of times just reading and writing give them escape from all the negative things that's going on around. If you give them good schools, freshly painted walls, you know, they don't have to stay there. Just clean environment, a positive environment. You know, send a message says that we care and our kids are our future. If you catch them while they're young, you can save them. Fix this educational system before we lose our kids for good.
To combat the lack of funds and resources available to the city, a large number of nonprofit groups came to New Orleans soon after the storm, and many of them continued to rebuild the city 2 years later. The charities based in New Orleans offer a multitude of services to anyone affected by Hurricane Katrina. Catholic Charities Operation Helping Hands uses local and national volunteers to help rebuild homes of elderly and disabled hurricane victims. The volunteers with the charities are as varied as the people of New Orleans itself. Young and old alike, they come with a passion to help others.
You guys are covered with sweat, so I assume you're working hard then, right?
Oh yeah.
Y'all from the same school?
We are.
What's the school?
Creighton University. It's in Omaha, Nebraska, Jesuit school there.
You said you're all seniors?
All seniors, yeah.
Okay, what's your major?
History and theology.
Pharmacy.
Accounting and entrepreneurial management.
Political science.
Yeah, we have a week off of school, so we have a fall break service trip program, and there's actually about 30 students from Creighton here in New Orleans this week. There's a program or a division at Creighton. It's called Community for Service and Justice, and they set up these programs. So they do their fundraising, and we get an endowment from the university, and so some of the cost is covered by them, and some of it is paid by us.
And who's feeding you?
Catholic Charities. They're taking care of us, getting us our frozen lasagna. Whip it in the microwave up at night, get our protein for the day.
So is it like donated food and you get all sorts of weird stuff?
I don't think so.
I think it's new.
Yeah, I hope it's new.
It's packaged new.
Yeah, it's packaged new.
It'd be really bad if it wasn't.
Now, what have you guys been doing while you're here?
We've been working on the exterior of a home in I think it's the Gentilly region. She had 6 feet of water in her home, flooded, And so she's been working on the inside with some friends and family members, and we've been doing the outside, just painting a brick home. So luckily the brick is okay, but working on the gutters, scraping, painting, windows, yard work, landscaping, just touching up.
I came down. I've been down here before on spring break trip, about 6 months after the hurricane. So I just came down again just to see like the progress. I guess was something that was interesting. What rebuilding phases they're in, and then I enjoy being around the people here in the community. It's kind of fun. The people are really nice, and I mean all the volunteers too. It's pretty cool to see.
I felt like I should come down and see what it's like, how everything's moving along, or how it's not. Actually.
Like Drew over here, I've been here before, and I've done just the gutting part of the rebuilding effort, and I was just really excited to hear that Catholic Charities was on the rebuilding phase, because gutting homes got to be a little depressing. You're ripping apart what people put together over years and years, and so now that we're actually starting the rebuilding phase, it's just a little more hopeful, and the smiles on the homeowners' faces are brighter. And so yeah, I think all of us just kind of playing our part. You know, if the government's not going to help, then it falls on each other. Well, New Orleans is a very interesting, dynamic city. I'd say it's like no place else in America. But just the makeup and the people down here are something else. And it really is tragic to see what they've had to go through, and just to have a roof over their heads. I mean, 2+ years later, people still struggling, living in trailers. But the spirits are still high, and the people love their city. And so it's a fun place to be, and it doesn't feel like a burden to help. It feels like a privilege, really.
I guess when I came down, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't expect to drive through a neighborhood and just see weeds. That's been our huge joke this whole week. Is one of the guys that we talked to when we first got down here from another school just came up to us and he was like, "It's amazing. You just drive around and there's weeds everywhere."